What's going on, guys? In last week's video, I talked about 4 mental mistakes that youth players make, but today I want to dive a little bit into the mechanics of the swing, and I have 7 mechanical mistakes that they make, so let's get right into it. So these mistakes or flaws are very common amongst a lot of younger players, but the good news is they can all be fixed with hard work and the right drills. And with each mistake that I'm going to talk about, I've done a video on, so I'm going to link those below, so make sure to go check them out after. So the first thing that I want to talk about is their load and then their stride to launch position. Okay, so the first mistake that I see with a lot of kids with their load is them popping up like that. Okay, what we want to do is we want to make sure that we stay low and knees bent, and when we load back that we stay nice and level with our head. Okay, so we don't want to come up like that. We want to make sure that we load and stay nice and level. And then from there, when they stride, we want to make sure that our stride is around the size of our bat or the size of our inseam. Okay, a mistake that a lot of younger kids make is they'll either not stride far enough or they'll stride too far. Okay, so general rule of thumb is about the size of their bat or the size of their inseam. Now I want to talk about launch position. When we get players in here, one of the first things that we look for is, are they in the correct launch position? Now what launch position is once they load and stride, once that heel hits the ground, before they start any of their swing, that's called launch position. Okay, so the things that we're going to look for when we get to launch position is we want to make sure that the stride is about the size of our bat, our front foot is slightly open, we're equally balanced, head is in the middle of our body. Okay, our hands are kind of in front of our shoulder, with our hands, our elbow and our shoulder kind of on the same plane, level with the ground, with the knob of the bat facing the catcher. Okay, that's launch position. What you'll find with a lot of kids is once they're loading and as they're striding forward, they're already starting their swing. So once they get their foot down, they're already down here. Okay, so we want to load, stride, and once that heel hits the ground, we still want to be here. So the next mistake that you see with a lot of younger players is lunging. Now what that means is when they go forward towards the ball and this knee is bent and they're just kind of lunging towards the ball. Now they do this probably for a few reasons, one of them being that they don't load, and instead of going back and forward, they're just going here and then straight forward like that. And another reason is that they're just too eager to hit. So rather than letting the ball get deep and hitting it back here, they're lunging at it like that and trying to go get it. Okay, we want to make sure that once we land a launch position, we're equally balanced, and then at contact, this leg is straight. It's not out bent like that. So then another mistake that players make when they're in launch position is when they load and then stride forward, they're pushing their arm back like that, and this creates this arm bar. Okay, but what we want is we want to keep this position, this little box right here, we want to keep that position through our load and then even through our turn. And the next mistake that a lot of younger players make, especially the young ones, is they're not using their full body when they swing. They just swing with their arms like that. Okay, so what we want to do, we want to work from the ground up. Okay, so again, we're going to load, stride to launch position, and then from here, we want to make sure that they're turning their hips and turning their core and their back foot like that. Now, I made a video on squishing the bug. It's a pretty controversial thing that people like to talk about because as you get older, you don't actually squish the bug. But when you're younger, for the younger kids, I like to teach them that because it gets them to engage their hips like that. Okay, so if you want to watch that video, check it out below. But basically, when they swing, rather than just kind of swinging with their arms like that, we're going to get them to basically squish a bug with their back foot. That's going to cause them to turn their core and turn their hip like that, and then that forces them to use their legs and their hips. Now the next big mistake or flaw is casting. Now what casting is when they swing, it's just like it sounds. They cast their arms out like that and get disconnected from their shoulder and the bat and get disconnected from their elbow and their body. Okay, so what we want to do is once we start our swing, we want to keep this elbow nice and tight to the body and then this barrel tight to our shoulder until we release it to contact. Okay, once we start to get out here and get disconnected here, that's called casting, almost like we're casting a fishing rod like that. Okay, that's not what we want to do. We want to make sure that we keep it nice and tight to the shoulder through our turn. Now the next mistake, which is very common with a lot of younger players, and that is bat drag. Now what bat drag is when you see this with players, where this elbow gets ahead of this hand and they're kind of just dragging the bat through the zone. Okay, so what we want to see is we want to make sure this hand always stays in front of this elbow. Okay, so as we come to the turn, this hand stays in front of this elbow like that through the turn, and then we swing. Once they get to here and then their elbow starts to go first, you lose the barrel, you lose all barrel control, you lose all power, and you're just kind of dragging the bat through the zone. So bat drag is a huge mistake with a lot of younger players. I'll link that video below as well. The last thing that I want to talk about is not extending through the zone and rolling over your wrist too early. Okay, so what that means is you see a lot of players get to here and then they just roll their wrists over, and that causes a lot of rollovers and a lot of weak ground balls to the left side. But what we want to do is come to the zone with palm up, palm down, and then as we come to the zone, we want to keep that and extend through the zone like that, and then we can kind of roll our wrists over like that. But what we see with the kids is they get to here and they just want to flick their wrists over like that, and that causes them to roll over. Thank you so much for watching, guys. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't yet, hit that subscribe button below, and I'll see you guys next week.